How do you turn a blank page into a persuasive landing page? The good news is that you actually don't have to start with a blank page at all, because today I'm speaking with expert SaaS copywriter Dayana Mayfield, and she's going to show you the basic structure that she uses to write highly persuasive SaaS landing pages without starting from scratch. Dayana Mayfield has been writing copy for SaaS companies for about 5 years, with a big focus on web copy and landing page copy. And today, she's going to show you how she structures her landing pages using an example for a pre-launch SaaS product called RaiseIQ. Here's what you're going to see. The basic structure that Dayana uses as a starting point for her SaaS landing pages. These are the basic building blocks that you can swipe from her and use for yourself. How she makes decisions about when to follow her basic structure and when to break from it. And finally, she's going to walk us through the RaiseIQ landing page so you can see how it all comes together. We've got a lot to cover, so let's dive straight into it.
It's all about the story, right? So it's like, what do you need to tell somebody to get them from like A to Z, from like understanding it to actually like possibly making, a purchase and signing up. So the hero is like that hook where you want the clarity of what it does, so the hero, you're going to have like an interesting hooky headline and then like a really clear sub headline. Then you always want social proof, which can be your customer logos, your G2 rating and Capterra rating badges, or a testimonial. And then not every SaaS product will have a problem section. I think it really depends. I think ones for small businesses, it's often good if they have a problem section because it just kind of illustrates like, where they're at, or like smaller companies that don't have like a lot of brand awareness, like you don't know, like you haven't heard of it, right? So it's like Slack, they're not going to have that standard like problem solution section. They're going to mostly focus on like product marketing and making it really clear what the product does. But it's like so many people have heard of it, right? And then solution overview, it's just a way of saying like, here's what the product does. Solution details could be, the different features, or just kind of like something that follows after that kind of gives you like even more information about the solution. And then product marketing section, this is just kind of my way of calling out a section that's like, say it's a template, like there's templates in there, right? And so that could be a section where you show the templates, or there's some sort of like output. You know what I mean? Like a page builder or something. You can show different examples of pages that were built with the product. You're just very clearly showing what the heck it is. Something where it's just really focused on like the software, and it's not like description or explanation. It's not illustrations. It's really going to be like quality screenshots and like a very simple headline. It's like opening up the closet and like showing you like what's inside. And then who it's for is obviously if you have different, target audiences that you want to call out, like say, okay, this is for coaches, consultants, and freelancers or something, or like this is for insurance agents. It's not necessary for every software company. I think it's important if you either have 1 to 3 target audiences, right? Like if it's really only for one audience, then I think it's smart to do that. Just make it really clear. Unless, of course, you have that in the headline, because often if it's for one, you might have that like really clear in the headline. So maybe the who it's for is probably better if you have like 3 targets. So anyways, that's another one that not every company will have. And then like use cases could be like just different examples, right?
Sure.
And then process and steps. So this one, again, is not something that every SaaS company would use, but if there's just like a really clear workflow, like maybe it's like an add-on, right? Say it's like a Shopify add-on for like customer service. So it's like 1, add to your Shopify store. 2, talk with your customers. So for some SaaS, like that's not necessary. For others, it can make things really clear, especially if it's like something that integrates with something else, or something that kind of, if you're changing a workflow, like maybe people are used to doing things in 10 steps and this product is going to change it to 2 or 3 steps, then that could be a really smart reason to use that that type of section. And then main features and mini features. This is kind of similar to solution details, but a little different. So maybe solution details would be like, just like your top 3 features, and you wouldn't have like in the mini ones. But maybe, if you wanted to like, showcase the features, maybe people really like vet for certain features in your industry, like, they want to check that you have this thing when they're checking their options. Maybe it's a crowded marketplace and they've got 5 or 10 options they're exploring, and so they really need to like clearly kind of vet that you have these things. The mini features could even be like just basic stuff that people are looking for, like mobile optimized, 2FA. And then quality agreements. So these are like, quality agreements to alleviate fear. This could be things like, the quality of customer support, that there's customer support via live chat and email. It's a 30-day free trial. It's going to depend on the SaaS company and like what type of businesses they work with, if it's small business, if it's enterprise, what sort of things that they're going to put on there. If it's enterprise, it's going to be something like dedicated customer success representative, and then a transformation section. This was something that we did for RaiseIQ, which is like, you're going to transform from spending hours and hours and hours to do it yourself to like minutes. And you can kind of spell it out and make it really clear. Another way you can talk about the transformation is in the final CTA, like in the headline right above the last CTA, you might say something like, focus on your customers, not on your software, or something like that. Because that could even be like a transformation where it's like, we're switching from just dealing with like the crap and integrating things, tinkering, to now we have something that's so intuitive and easy to use. Then now we can really just like focus on like what matters.
So you finished with all of your research. You are ready to start outlining. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I'm really eager to get to the actual RaiseIQ landing page and have you talk through that. But I'd love to just get a really quick overview of how you start to put your research and your ideas into these sections and start to create the overall structure for the page. So why don't you just go ahead and very quickly just walk us through these sections.
Okay, cool. So the first thing that I always do, like after I've done my research and I'm ready to start rough drafting, is I make this table. It's essentially like a 2-column table. And on the left, I write down like the name of that section. So then that helps me like think about the story. So the first thing I do is I write down the names of those sections on the left before I do anything, on the right, which is the actual copy. The thing on the left never actually goes in the website. It's just a note to myself of what I'm putting where. So for this, of course, a hero and then social proof. It's a pretty good standard way, to start any SaaS website. But then from there, for this one, I chose, to do the problem solution setup because, it is a simple offer. It is a huge problem. There isn't really anything like it that solves this problem in this way. And then what I also do is I put like design ideas. So the designer then went and put the graphics in there, but I just write like design ideas alongside the copy, just to make that clear. So there's like, there's the problem, solution overview, and then I think it goes into like a transformation section, does it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the time transformation, then solution details, which is basically like the, specific features that kind of back it up. And then there's like an output section because just to make things clear, like what are we getting? We're getting a financial model that we can stick in a pitch deck, right? So it's like not every software is going to need like an output section. But for this one, it just makes things that much clearer. And then the use cases, we wanted to put that because, we wanted to focus on, there's 2 different things that you can do with it, not just the pitch decks. So yeah, that's the setup. Always the story. Think about the story and then what are the sections that we need before actually writing a copy.
So here is the actual RaiseIQ page. Dayana's going to walk us through these sections in a little bit more detail. So The first thing that we have here, obviously, is the hero section.
Yeah. So it is difficult to write headlines for products that do a lot. Like products that are kind of that all-in-one, like they do so many different things for different user types. That is challenging because then people kind of rely on, it's like just a key phrase. It's like, oh, it's this type of software, and like that's it. And there's nothing like exciting or outcomes focused with that. So I'm not gonna like lie and say it's like always easy for me to write headlines, because it's really hard to write headlines for that sort of product. But for RaiseIQ and products that do essentially one main thing for one type of person, that is so much easier to write.
Yeah. So you were just talking about what's at stake, that the stakes are actually pretty high. And so I think that is a nice segue into the next section that we have here, which looks to be a problem section. You're defining the problem here. Something that I want to call out that I really like about this section is what you just started to touch on, is this idea that, if you wing it and you don't provide quality projections, smart investors can tell right away and they will walk. So it's this idea of, what is the cost of not taking action? If you don't do this, this is going to be the cost and the result. Sometimes I think we get really focused on talking about benefits. Here's what is going to happen if you take action. But something that I like that you did here is you told us what is going to happen if we don't take action. And sometimes that can be a more powerful lever to pull, don't you think?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. It's like, what do you want to avoid? So if you've ever read Story Brand by Donald Miller, I think it's
that sounds right. I believe
Donald
it is.
Miller. Okay, I'm like, I hope it's Donald Miller. But in his framework, he talks about like, what does the hero of the story is the customer. What does the hero want to achieve and what do they want to avoid? So yeah, a lot of times people focus, copywriters focus on what people want to achieve, but then they forget to put what you want to avoid. And I actually do that. I try to do that quite a bit because it's pretty powerful.
Let's move into this next section. This looks to me like a solution overview. Is that right?
Yes, solution overview for the, it's like an outcome, right? So it's like an outcome, and then it's also showing you an alternative too. Like when you use this, like nobody's gonna know that you didn't like hire an accountant to do it for you, because it's actually going to include all of the details, right? And so it says, our founder took a class from Harvard Business School on financial accounting, so you don't have to. So it's like to build this, we studied every single thing that's supposed to go in there, because you don't know, like, you need to make one, but you don't know what's supposed to go in there.
So let's move on to the next section. I am a huge fan of comparison charts. Yeah, and so this is a transformation section according to your framework.
So it's kind of like the two outcomes. One, it's going to be less time, and two, it's going to come out better than if you had tried to figure it all out yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's like the double. It's like save time and wow investors. It's going to take you over 20 hours. It's going to confuse investors. It's going to show that it was done by an amateur, versus it's going to take you somewhere from 30 minutes to an hour. It's going to impress investors, and it's going to look like an agency did it for you.
All right. So let's hop into this next section. So would you call this is this like a solution details?
Yeah, solution details or main features. So raise money easier with these smart features. So we're kind of reminding them, this is all about you getting to raise money easier, right? So like the raise money part is not like all over in your face, right? Because it's like, we can't totally promise that. So it's not like raise money with like RaiseIQ, right? But it's like, it's in there a little bit, like just a reminder, like your core outcome, right? It's like, take it all the way to the outcome that they really, really want. They don't just want a financial model. They want to raise money, right? So it's like, you don't put that everywhere, but you do use that some places.
Something, and just to call out something that, I see all the time when you don't have a copywriter writing, is you'll see this section will be something like, features or some sort of like placeholder or UX copy that helps us understand where we are on the page, but it doesn't help us answer, so what?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think we need to hop into like each individual one, but just as an overview, what was really important to, share in this section was that it's ready for you to use. There's the jumpstart data you can get started with, there's the template. It's going to include all the financial details, so you don't have to try to come with your own knowledge of what's supposed to go there. It's all there and you have to fill it in. And then, professional design. So it's going to look really great.
Awesome. So let's move into the next section here. I'm trying to figure out for myself, just as an exercise, like what of the different sections that we went through before, the different sections that you use, which of those this applies to. So I'm wondering, is this kind of like...
This is the output. This is the output. So just to show you, okay. Yeah, just to show you, like, in case you've been sleeping, like, this is what it's going to make, because we don't want to assume that, like, it's pretty clear. It's a pretty simple, clear thing, use our financial model builder. Like, it's pretty clear, but hey, like, let's just show it, like, it's going to make you this really nice, pretty thing. Like, do you think you can make this nice, pretty thing by yourself? I don't think so. Right? So like just showing what you're going to get,
What's in the box. So something else that I think you're doing here is it also looks like you are dealing with some objections. So if I'm to read this correctly, I see not sure what to include. So to me, that sounds like a hesitation is, okay, this sounds great. It's going to make my life so much easier. But the reality is I don't really know what to include in my financial model. It seems to me like you're sort of addressing that hesitation. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's check out this next section here. Okay. Build it now, update it later. What's going on in this section?
I don't want people to just sign up, pay for it for a while, and like leave, because then you're going to have a SaaS product with no recurring revenue and you're going to have really high churn. So the strategy with this one is like, hey, you can keep using it. So this is the use cases. So the main use case, let's be honest, is investor pitch decks. That's going to be the number one reason why people sign up. But we want to make it clear there's another use case. You can do ongoing financial analysis, which if you are a smart founder, you're going to want to be doing that anyways. And you should get really intimate with your numbers, and you should be using RaiseIQ monthly or quarterly.
Yeah. Cool. This looks to me like what I would probably call a how it works section, but I think you had a different name for it.
Yeah, I call it like process or steps. That's kind of a story brand thing as well. It's like, what are the steps to the outcome that they want? So where we talk about what they want to avoid and achieve in story brand, and it's like, how do they get to what they want to achieve? That's kind of like a story brand thing, because it's like you're taking them on the journey, right? And you want to make it clear, like, okay, I'm interested, but what do I actually have to do to make it work, So it's like, here's how to create a new financial plan. You're going to put your revenue streams, your expenses, your assets, and your liabilities, right? So it kind of serves two purposes of like, here's how you do it. And also it's like, we know what we're talking about.
Okay. So we've gone through almost all of the sections, and now we have what I call the close. I think you had a different name for it, or you just, I think, had like final call to action. So, this is a wait list. So it's not quite the same as, trying to get someone to start a free trial, request a demo, or some of the other things that you typically see on a SaaS homepage or a SaaS landing page. So do you have any tips on how to write the closing section of a page that doesn't quite actually have anything to offer
ready for you? Yeah, I think that it's smart to always like make it really clear what you're asking. So like normally I would put, like a transformation kind of line in the headline, but for this it's like we don't want to confuse people and think like, oh, it's like ready, right? So just really clear, like request early access. And then you also want to make it like, well, why do I want to know? Like, so you want to know because you're gonna find out as soon as it's ready, so get notified as soon as it's like ready for you. So just a little kind of push, a little like nudge.
Yeah, so it sounds like the approach here was, because the product isn't ready, that you're focusing on clarity first. You didn't have something in your headline here that suggests the transformation that you might normally use.
Mhm.
because that transformation might have confused people, but then you
Yeah.
still in the subhead and even in some of the micro copy or sorry, some of the click trigger copy underneath the
Mhm.
button that you're also still tying it back to the so what.
Mhm. Mhm. Exactly.
Big thanks to Dayana Mayfield for everything she just showed us. If you want to get in touch with Dayana, you can head on over to her website at dayanamayfield.com. I'll go ahead and pop that on the screen so that you know how to spell it. If you go to her blog section, you can grab some free resources she has on there, including a packet of B2B SaaS copywriting templates that I highly recommend you check out. Also, if you want more videos like this one you just watched, please head on over to copyspotlight.com. You can get on my email list there, and you'll be notified the second I release each video for Copy Spotlight, and you'll also get some cool bonuses that I'm only going to send through the email list and things that won't be available on YouTube or in video. Thanks a lot. Take care.